Welcome back to the Unbearables podcast. I'm Jack Cowart, and I'm here with...
Brandon Ruiz.
And Emilio Escalante. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. And today we're going to be looking at UFC 259, main evented by Jan Blachowicz and Israel Adesanya. We're also going to be looking at two NBA games from Sunday the 14th, Raptors versus Bulls and Grizzlies versus Thunder. But before we do that, we got big news in the NFL today. Andy Dalton has signed a one-year contract with the Chicago Bears. So tell me what you guys feel about that.
Well, I guess I was telling you guys a little bit before this, but I was relaxing today. I was feeling, pretty good. It was a good day. And I was watching some sports, and I thought things are good. Got a phone call from a friend, and I was thinking, he never calls me unless it's about the Bears. And there was a moment where I thought, oh my gosh, the Bears did it. They got Russell Wilson. And I was very far off in what that was. So I'm going to be honest, though. This is going to be a weird take. So I was upset, obviously, but I actually wasn't that upset because of my standards for the Bears. The Bears constantly do bad things, so when you're used to bad things happening all the time, it kind of took away the pain for me a little bit.
That's a very defeatist way of looking at it, I think.
Yeah, I know, but that's just my reality,
My reaction was not I understand where you're coming from. The Bears and Ryan Pace do mess up a lot, but the past couple weeks with all the Russell Wilson talk, I let myself get my hopes up. I knew it was unlikely that it was really ever going to happen.
It could still happen technically,
right? Russell Wilson holds all the cards basically, and I guess the Seahawks management do too. But when you let yourself get your hopes up for a guy like Russell Wilson, and then you find out you're getting Andy Dalton, I'm pretty upset. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not happy about this.
I never heard you talk like that before. I could hear that you're genuinely upset when you said that.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry though.
It's just okay. So
sorry for laughing.
I'm not gonna go full.
It was just.
I'm not gonna go full rant mode, but so we're already paying Nick Foles $10 million this year. We traded a fourth round for that contract. Absolutely garbage decision. But if we weren't able to get Russell Wilson, I would not mind just riding Nick Foles, basically giving up on this year because he's bad at football at this point. But so to sign Andy Dalton for another $10 million, we're now paying $20 million for two bridge quarterbacks that aren't going to do anything for us. They're not winning quarterbacks at this point. So I don't know what Pace is thinking, because obviously he wanted Russell Wilson. He wants to make a big move.
Yeah, it was honestly what I was really concerned of was this. I thought the difference in talent between Nick Foles and Andy Dalton isn't that great.
It's negligible, right? It's a move from a bad bridge quarterback to a maybe slightly below average bridge quarterback.
The thing is, what gets me upset is earlier in the offseason, I kept on saying, I think if the Bears do go a route like this, they should sign Ryan Fitzpatrick instead, just because he's at least shown you that he can help you win a game. Andy Dalton, I feel like at this point in his career, can't really help you win a game. He can help you stay in a game. And I feel like that's the same thing Nick Foles can do, except Andy Dalton might have a stronger arm right now. I don't see what the point of this was, because everyone was saying to me, well, why would you make a move like that? And I was thinking, well, if the Bears are in win now mode, I guess, and that's what they're making it seem like, but right now it's with Andy Dalton, how are you actually going to win? At least go for someone that has a high ceiling. Yeah, he also has a very low floor, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, but at the same time, Andy Dalton is at best probably going to get you 6-10. So what are we doing here anyways? They're paid the exact same. $10 million. Andy Dalton has $3 million in incentives, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick has $2 million in incentives. I'm not saying either is a win-win scenario, for both parties. Well, actually, no, it is a win scenario for Andy Dalton, but not for the Bears. So it's a win-lose scenario. But I just don't get it. I really don't. I don't see what the Bears were thinking. Because like you said, if they were going this route, they should have just kept Nick Foles and just drafted a quarterback and said, okay, we're done. You know what I mean? This is what we're doing.
Right.
Absolutely.
I would
I'm
have
gonna
been
have to agree with you guys
way better
there.
with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you guys there. I actually caught onto the news pretty late. I didn't hear about it till a couple of hours ago. Completely surprised. The thing that confuses me the most is why Andy Dalton now? Because I believe he was a free agent when they did acquire Nick Foles, and then you wouldn't have had to give him a fourth round. So I don't see what has changed from now and then. Obviously, Dalton had some playing time with the Cowboys, and it didn't seem to show too well for him. So I'm not too sure what they're thinking there. That being said, the Bears, they tend to disappoint me every year.
Yeah, I think Andy Dalton's play on the Cowboys at best was at like slightly below average to average at times, which I just think to myself, that's exactly what Nick Foles gives you. So what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like what are we doing here? I don't get it. It is disappointing. And it's sad to me that I'm not as disappointed as I should be, like probably how Jack is right now. It just doesn't surprise me is why I'm not as disappointed as I feel like I should be, because this is a classic Bears move. What they're doing is that they're hoping that one of these guys pan out so they can save their jobs because they're afraid that this is their last season. But if they're giving you a chance to figure it out, I'm assuming this is the only reason why they're here, then they probably, if they just drafted a quarterback and moved on from Nick Foles after this season and paid out the rest of his contract, they would have still got chances. But doing a move like this kind of takes away that and also hurts you, because what if Andy Dalton does play at like an average level and now you have worse picks the next season? I don't know. It just seems like like, what are we doing,
Yeah, I mean, I said to you maybe last week or the week before, Brandon, whoever the next Bears quarterback is holds Ryan Pace's job in their hands. So for him to pick Andy Dalton, and I mean, it's not out of the cards that we trade up in the draft for a quarterback. I think there are many good quarterbacks on the draft, and I really wouldn't be that upset about it. Obviously, it would be kind of bad to hold a rookie quarterback while also holding two average to below average bridge quarterback.
And if they draft a quarterback in the first round, they have to pay him too. And now they're paying this rookie, like all their quarterbacks on their team are probably going to average, like altogether total $30 million.
Right. Yeah. It's just not smart general managing. It's to put your job in the hands of Andy Dalton, who didn't look that great last year. The weapons he had were very good. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and the rookie whose name I can't remember right now.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. That's
Yes.
it. Thank you, Brennan. So those are some very good weapons for Andy Dalton, and he threw 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in 9 games, I think. That's not very good. I know the protection he had was utter garbage, and the Bears probably do have better protection, but worse weapons. So it feels like a net neutral for Dalton in terms of the team he's coming to, and I don't know how we can project him to be a winning quarterback after what he put up last year.
Yeah. Also, I just want to put this out there. I think that this could potentially be really bad, like even worse than what we think, because we do think or hope that they draft a quarterback, right? I have a feeling that they don't draft a quarterback still. And I know that sounds nuts.
There's a very real possibility of that.
I think that they might draft a tackle, because they're thinking to themselves, well, to be successful with Nick Foles or the quarterback like Nick Foles and Andy Dalton, we have to have a good offensive line because they're going to stay back there and that's it. Okay. But
which is true.
Yeah, it's true, right? Right? But how successful are you actually going to get? And I am a fan of setting up your line in this and that, but at the same time, I feel like if there's a time to lose, it's right now. You know what I mean? I don't know. We need better draft positioning. We're not going to win, so what's the point? Like, what's the point of doing all this stuff? I feel like if Ryan Pace said to ownership, hey, I'm going to start over, honestly, I think they would let him because they're seeming to kind of let him go in that direction anyways. So what is he afraid of?
I actually kind of disagree. I think this was the last year for Pace to start winning, because the rest of the team, if you ignore the quarterback position, the rest of the team is still built very well. Like I know we have a few questions at some positions, but I think we're above average basically everywhere else but quarterback. The way I was coming at this season was, if we can't win, then we start over next year. And obviously taking a rookie quarterback would kind of throw a wrench in that, because you basically force yourself into a new window.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's tough. Like, the Bears are in a very weird position, because like we haven't had a losing season since 2017, but reputation wise, like, people just think the Bears are garbage.
Well, I agree with you that the Bears are good, like basically everywhere except for the most important position. And I just think to myself, if we can't get a good quarterback now, then we can't win anyways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we're basically going to have to start over after this year.
Right.
So it's lame.
Poor Ryan Pace, man.
Unfortunate feelings all around.
I really would have liked, and I know it's not the best options, but I would have even preferred Jameis Winston over this. You know, I don't know why they wouldn't have signed him already. You know what I mean? Because first of all, you don't have to give him a guaranteed contract. That's one thing. And if you still could get that Russell Wilson trade going, you could just cut him and not pay anything. So there's no repercussions there. You could still pursue what you want to pursue, but at least you have someone that maybe could turn into something, not someone where you know who they are. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like this is going to be Dalton's 11th year in the league. How many more years does he have, you know?
Yeah, what upside, is there?
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, well, what do you want to talk about next, guys? Do you want to go on the Adesanya Blachowicz fight?
Yeah, let's go UFC. It was UFC 259. Main event was the light heavyweight championship, I believe.
Yes.
And yeah, champion Jan Blachowicz defending against Israel Adesanya, and Blachowicz wins by decision.
Yeah, but it was close. I mean, he won by decision, but it was about to be a TKO right there, because
it was almost over.
Yeah. It was bad. I mean, Adesanya just looked pedestrian on the ground, which makes sense because he's never had to fight on the ground, but at the same time, you should at least know where to put your feet when you're on your back. I feel like he was trying to muscle him off without getting in the right position to get him off of him, and it just showed he didn't know what to do on the ground. And I think this is a problem when you fight heavier guys, because I think generally in middleweight, he's so much taller and he has a big leverage game on a lot of his opponents, so it helps him, and also the distance, it helps him a lot. But when he's fighting people that are basically his same size and probably stronger than him, he's going to have to actually start learning how to defend some of this stuff a little bit better than just timing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And just like you said, man, he came in underweight, and if you are potentially going to end up on the ground, which I think his cap should have been ready for against Blachowicz, you're going to have to come in and fight him weight. You're going to have to fight him face-to-face. He probably walked in there 225, 230, and Adesanya walked in at his probably walking rate right around 205, 200, and
yeah,
that's not going to work for you unless he was really counting on never having to resort to being on the ground, which is, a big claim, especially it's your first swing at a new division, light heavyweight. It's your first time daring to be great, as he said. You're going to have to be ready for that. But, a lot of people are criticizing him for that. He didn't even attempt the cut. It is his first loss, though, so I think he still has his undefeatable aura in his division. And I think the fact that, there isn't a champ is a good thing for the 185 division and the 205 division. We've seen in the past that when there is a champ, this division slow down. So I think that's good. But yeah, like you said, he was not ready for the ground, and that showed.
Yeah, so I am sort of a rookie combat sports viewer, but what I saw was the commentary during this fight was not in line with what I was seeing. Rogan and Daniel Cormier were talking about Adesanya like clearly outstriking Blachowicz, and I really wasn't seeing that at all. I was seeing pretty much an even striking match, which I feel like most would not have expected given Izzy's reputation as a top tier striker.
Yeah, I think it was more of it's because I think they were looking at in the beginning of the fight, Blachowicz I think had a hard time really planting his feet and getting like generating the power into some of his punches, you know? And I think that's what they were more like referring to. But I think regardless of that, I think you're right. It was pretty even. I think maybe Izzy was slightly better at striking, but it depends though, because Blachowicz was getting a lot more leg kicks in. He was kind of mixing it up a little bit more, and Izzy was doing that in the beginning, and then he just kind of stopped. I don't know. It seemed like to me, I guess watching it, like he had an idea of how to go into the fight, and it was working all right for the first round and then a little bit into the second round. But it almost seemed like he abandoned it and went kind of to I'm just gonna knock him out type of thing and kind of wear him down. But then Blachowicz was doing the same thing, but a little bit more effectively than Adesanya's way.
Yeah, I agree, man. What do you guys think about those scorecards, though? We got 2 judges giving a 10-8 round. I thought that was a surprise, considering I actually had the fight 48-47, 49-46, like, at worst. But 2 judges giving a 10-8 round to Blachowicz was something that I was definitely not expecting. I wonder what round they were thinking that was.
I had it 47-48 as well. Obviously, rounds 4 and 5 went to Blachowicz. I had rounds 1 and 3 going to Adesanya, and then round 2 was a question mark for me that, looking back, I did give to Blachowicz. I don't know between rounds 1 and 3. I don't know which rounds I would have given to Blachowicz there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that the last 2 rounds could have been 10-8 rounds, depending on how you look at it, you know? But it does seem a little odd, you know, that just doesn't happen very frequently, you know? So it is odd, but I could see where they're coming from. Round 5, I could definitely see it, because Izzy just looked out of it. He looked tired. The way he was fighting, like, remember when Blachowicz took him down, and it's kind of was like towards the end of the round, but Izzy was kind of like swaying all weird, like he was trying to like fake him out, and then Blachowicz said, "I'm not playing this game. I'm just gonna take you down." And you know what I mean? Like it seemed almost as if he was so tired that he was trying to play a mind game with him, and he said, "I'm taking the open shot." And to me, it looked bad. The 5th round looked probably the worst that he's ever looked fighting the UFC. I mean, I've watched all of his fights, and I mean, it was different. You know, it's hard when you fight someone that actually can utilize all of their skills on you, and I think he hasn't really had to deal with that at all up to this point. And so I don't know. I could see where a little bit of where that could be, I guess, be coming from.
Yeah, I think the weight advantage was a really big deal here because, like you said, Brennan, I think Adesanya's plan was to outstrike him, and then he sort of abandoned that once he realized that he couldn't do that, and Blachowicz was getting more powerful strikes on him in the first 3 rounds as well. So by the 4th round, he was just gassed, and he got taken down, and he was just held there for 3 minutes. So by round 5, he had nothing left.
One other thing I would say is that Adesanya got a little lucky. I'm going to be honest in that I think it was the 3rd round where I think it was the first time Blachowicz clinched him and put him up against the cage, and for some reason Blachowicz wasn't really working on his body that much at all. I mean, I think he like kneed him a few times, but he was kind of just holding him. I think he was just putting his weight on him, trying to tire him out. But Izzy was doing this thing where he was hitting Blachowicz in his head with both of his hands, and watching it back at the same time, like he was like clapping the sides of his head. Watching it back though, Blachowicz, if he was probably thinking more clearly, which is hard to do in the middle of a fight, I will admit, especially when someone's hitting you in your head, but he could have just dropped and taken him down straight to the ground right then and there. Like that could have been
Oh, for
bad
sure.
right there. But instead, I think he got a little flustered, and he kind of let Izzy get out because Izzy got out like right then after. But there was a lot of moments where it just looked like Blachowicz could have done a lot more damage earlier in the fight, and I didn't feel that way about Adesanya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree there. That being said, Blachowicz was successful in his pacing, I guess, in the overall because he took the round. But I would definitely agree with that. Izzy came ready in the first couple rounds, and he felt that man's weight that night. I gotta say. That being said, though, I wonder what is next for Adesanya. A lot of people are, he did confirm that he is going back to 185 for at least the time being, like the next couple fights. In the past, we have seen people try to go up to another weight class and take a belt, like reference 2009 UFC 94. BJ Penn went up to fight George St. Pierre, didn't work. And then right after that, he had the two best performances he had back in his weight class. So I wonder if Adesanya can emulate that. I wonder if he can, do better than that, taking this loss in an upper weight class. I think Robert Whittaker could be a good possible fight. You got Brunson and Holland this Saturday for UFC Fight Night, actually. So I think if Holland can get that victory, maybe he can get a fight. And then you got Darren Till and Vettori on April 10th. Vettori's already lost to Adesanya in the past, so maybe if Darren Till can take that victory, maybe he's got a shot up for Adesanya.
Yeah, I think that this fight definitely has to help him, because I also think there's not a lot of people that prior to this could walk him down, you know what I mean, kind of stand face to face with him, because I think he just has so much of a reach advantage over the people in 185, and so it makes it difficult for them. But I couldn't see how this fight could hurt him unless it hurts his ego, which I'm pretty sure it's not going to.
Facts.
He seemed pretty, you know what I mean? He seemed pretty good. It seemed like he felt pretty good about himself after the fight. One thing I will say, though, is I think also that this is good for Adesanya because looking at how he talked after, like immediately after the fight, what he said was basically that the weight definitely played a factor, and he also said that his ground game could have been better. Those weren't his exact words, obviously, but he did mention it, and I think that's important because he knows that he was not ready, and he was very honest with that. He wasn't hiding it. He wasn't fighting that it affected him. He was like, okay, well, at first he fought the weight thing, but then he did say, well, it probably did have an effect. But I'm happy that he actually mentioned that his ground game being so weak was actually it was actually really bad for him that night. So hopefully he'll get a little bit better. I don't know how much better you can get in your like early 30s on something like that, but he needs to at least get the basics down of defense.
And to his credit, he's still 20-0 in his home division. I feel like I know that internet comments don't really mean much, but people, from what I've seen, are holding this against Adesanya way too roughly, in my opinion. Like, people are just forgetting that he was undefeated coming in here. He's still one of the greatest fighters.
Oh yeah, I think it's more of because people wanted to see him fight John Jones. And so when they're looking at that, so many people were saying that he could beat John Jones. And I think that there still is a chance, because I think the way that John Jones fights is different than the way Blachowicz fights. I think he's better, but I think like matchup wise, it would be very interesting seeing the two fight, especially if Izzy actually gains the weight next time. But I think that's why he's getting so much backlash, because there was a lot of people that really thought that he could beat John Jones, and then he loses to Blachowicz, and so people are, I think, having that in mind and using that but to hold it against him.
Mm-hmm. That being said, would you say the John Jones fight is out of the picture, or at least is harder to sell to the fans now, coming from like Dana White's perspective, considering that he did take that L?
I think Dana White said something about it being a lot harder to sell. I'm not sure. I think he did. But I mean, yeah, it has to be, because he didn't beat Blachowicz, and John Jones is, I would say, better than Blachowicz, But at the end of the day, though, if he comes back up and then wins, then I think there's a chance that it's back on. I think, but he has to win. He's not gonna get a fight with John Jones if he can't become the champion. It is what it is. Because right now, John Jones I love Khabib, so it's hard for me, but he's probably the best ever. But I mean, it's either him or Khabib in my eyes, so they kind of have to, when it comes to people like that, I think, and especially in this stage of their careers, they kind of decide who they fight,
I'd have to agree with that. There was some other good fights on UFC 259, though. I don't know if we want to touch on any of those.
I mean, we could talk about the Nunes-Anderson fight.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
That was great. Every time I see Amanda Nunes fight, it hurts my heart because she knocked out Chris Cyborg, who at the time was undefeated when Amanda Nunes and Cyborg matched up. And basically, Cyborg has fallen off the face of the planet since. And everything I expected for Chris Cyborg is happening here with Amanda Nunes. That being said, still credit to her. Megan Anderson definitely wasn't ready for that fight. All the criticism that people had before her, that was my first time seeing her fight, but from what I understand, people have criticized her for being stiff, for not being able to react to the footwork of her opponent, and I think that was true on that night.
Yeah, so this was the first time I had ever heard of Megan Anderson, and I'm not going to claim to know much about her career before this, but the second she got in that ring, the second the fight started, she looked like a deer in headlights to me. Before Nunes even landed a punch on her, like her eyes were wide. She was not moving well. Like Nunes must be so freaking terrifying.
100%.
Oh yeah.
There's no denying that.
Baddest woman on the planet.
It was honestly, man, we were sitting down. Emilio and I were watching it together. We were sitting down, and I was writing notes on every fight. This is that as I do. And I had Nunes versus Anderson, and then first round bullet point, and then a bullet point under that, and that's it. That's all. That's all I put because the fight ended so quickly. I couldn't talk about anything else. It was just a matter of Nunes is just too strong. Like it is what it is. Too powerful. It seems like Anderson there was no hope. There's nothing. I mean, they always say, oh, there's a puncher's chance. You know what I mean? But I guess not against Nunes.
Yep.
I think it only applies to Nunes when she's in the cage. Like the puncher's chance is like, yeah, but it's gonna happen. It's coming.
Yeah, she could have won that fight any way she wanted.
That's right.
Anyway, and the way she won it though was ridiculous. It was, it was nuts. That triangle armbar. When do you see that? Like what? That was nuts.
She's just flexing at this point. Like I know I'm the best.
Yeah. It was awesome. It's like I feel like watching a Nunes fight is probably kind of like what it was like to watch Mike Tyson fight, when he was in his prime. Just no one could stop you. You're unstoppable. You're the best in the world, and everyone's afraid of you. I think it's probably somewhat similar to that. There's just too much power. No one else can handle it, and it's just you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's absolutely true. The 145 division is wiped out, and it is because of Amanda Nunes, which makes me wonder what the hell is she going to do next? Some people are thinking that maybe she should go down to 135 and fight Juliana Pena. Juliana Pena, she's a hell of a fighter. She was the first woman to win the Ultimate Fighter Championship, the contest. And she's number 6 in her weight class, the 135 weight class. That being said, I would still give it to Amanda up front. I think 135 would be a hard weight for Amanda to hit, though. I think 145 is definitely the sweet spot.
I think that too. I agree. It might be a difficult, like a very difficult weight cut, but if the weight cut was made, I'm not gonna bet against Amanda Nunes. You know what I mean? It's just not gonna happen.
It's tough to do that.
Yeah, man, it's literally insane. I was shocked. It just seemed, it's just weird because Anderson was supposed to be like so good,
Mm-hmm.
And she probably is, but she's not Amanda Nunes.
That's right. Made her look childish, man. Look at.
Yeah, so there wasn't much to say there just because the fight ended so quickly. But I think one thing that's really cool is that, you know, when you watch Amanda Nunes fight, you are witnessing history. You know, this dominance. It's incredible, and it's funny when they were talking to her after the fight, and she was just saying, "Oh, I just beat all of them. You know, what do you want me? It's not my fault. You know." It's like, yeah, I guess not. And don't stop. You know, yeah, you have to keep on doing it. You're in the cage. Your life is on the line too. You know, it's a game, but also it's a very dangerous game. So, but Amanda Nunes just happens to be the best at it, I guess. So,
yeah, and I feel like a good example of it being a dangerous game, if we can talk about one more fight from that card, was the bantamweight title fight, Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan.
Oh man,
that I was very much enjoying that fight. Like it was as a novice watcher, it was so entertaining to me. So for it to end the way that it did with that crazy knee, it was really disappointing. It went from a very entertaining fight to a disappointing finish.
Yeah, terrible disqualification. A lot of people are thinking that, you know, there's a lot of confusion going on, saying that was it on purpose? They're saying that Piotr's camp was confusing him, where like there were some people screaming at him in English to punch only, punch only, punch only. Then he asked, "Can I kick? Can I knee?" And then someone responded in Russian that yes, he can. And so sucks.
Khabib said he heard that, you know. So I don't think Khabib would lie, you know. So it does suck, but you know what sucks even more is that, okay, say if it was bad advice, but say if it wasn't like advice that came from a bad place, you know, there wasn't no like ill intent there. It's like they just didn't know the rules. That's a problem, though.
It is, yeah. Like,
you know,
if you're a champion, you ought to know the rules of your fights.
Especially so, like the rules that you could seriously injure someone, you know, that gets you disqualified type of rules. You would think that you would know those ones specifically. You know what I mean? I just, that part, it does seem a little weird, but like Emilio and I were talking about it that night, and we're saying, but this is kind of the weird part about UFC is that, I mean, MMA is not the same everywhere. You know, like when you're competing, it's different in like a lot of places, and these people are coming up and they're getting trained in so many different disciplines. They're not getting trained to become a UFC fighter. They're being trained by whatever discipline they choose. And I think sometimes that kind of hurts them in a way in terms of the rules, where it's like they just know how to fight their way and they learn more ways and stuff like that, but they're not necessarily having the rules in mind, which is odd. But I think like in the future that'll change, because I think the UFC is becoming more and more popular and people actually are starting to train specifically from a young age to get in the UFC. But I think you have to know the rules when you're in his spot. No, like with that in mind, you still have to know the rules when you're the champion. I don't get it.
Absolutely, especially with such an egregious blow like the one he gave. Like, the only example I can think of where something was that bad of a disqualification was probably the John Jones incident in the Ultimate Fighter 10 finale, where he did a 12-6 elbow and got disqualified. That's the only other time I can think of something that was so terrible like this, but it has never happened in a title fight. And I think that's why it's so important this time around, because people were like, yeah, he lost the fight, but at the same time, Aljamain feels kind of bad because he doesn't feel like he earned that belt. And it's the first time that somebody gets stripped for a disqualification like that. So it's a tough thing. Overall, shout out to Aljo. He fought a hell of a fight. I still thought that Piotr was winning that round. So if that wouldn't have happened, maybe he could have retained this belt. But you never know.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Like, honestly, Sterling was not on track to win that fight. So he probably does feel really bad.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard to say because, you know, I mean, a win is a win technically, but I do think Piotr was going to win as well. I mean, obviously anything could happen, but the way Sterling was fighting, where he kept on falling on the ground, it just didn't seem very effective, you know. There were times where some of the things he did, it was effective at moments, but I feel like overall Piotr was, you know, he just was effective probably the whole fight, you know, a very consistent. he had a very consistent fight. His approach was consistent, and he was doing whatever he wanted, it seemed, except the one thing he wanted to do at one point was happened to be illegal.
That's one way to put it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like when we were watching the fight, it did seem like it was leaning a lot to Piotr's side, at least in my mind.
Oh, I did. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And he had a lot of control, and he just made the wrong decision. And I feel bad for Aljamain because I feel like even if Aljamain was knocked out in a legal way, I feel like he would feel so much better about that loss than he does about this win.
Yeah, he put the belt on the ground after he won it. That that's actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah. But I guess that's all. I think that's all we're gonna talk about for that one. You guys want to get into the Bulls?
Bulls, it is. So we're going to be looking at the game from Sunday, Raptors at Bulls. The Bulls take it down 118-95.
Yeah, they did well. I will say though, I couldn't tell sometimes if the Bulls were playing well or if the Raptors were playing really poorly. Either way, a win's a win. I mean,
especially for the Bulls.
Yeah, but what do you think, Jack?
I think you're definitely right because the Raptors are struggling right now. They've been without three of their best players, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Fred VanVleet. They've been without them for quite a bit. And I think they've lost 6 of their last 7, maybe 7 of their last 8 now. So for the Bulls to come in and get the win, it was almost expected coming after 2 tough losses against the Heat and the Sixers without Embiid and Simmons. The Bulls really wanted this one, and Billy Donovan made the choice to change the starting lineup. He took out Kobe White and Wendell Carter Jr. and replaced them with Thomas Satoransky and Thaddeus Young. And that seemed to turn out to be a great decision, at least for this game.
It was cool because it seemed like every player on the team kind of had their hand in that win, But what isn't cool is that the Bulls shot 45.4%, from the field for that game. So, I mean, that's not that good. But when you look at the Raptors, they shot 37.8%. And I just think to myself, okay, well, it's clear who's going to win that one. But also, with that being said, the Bulls, what I did like, though, this is one thing I did like, is that they got 60 rebounds and the Raptors got 38.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, so that means that the Bulls, regardless of maybe, the Raptors are down, this and that, but that means the Bulls were trying to get rebounds, which I'm a fan of. It seems like they're recently, I do like the fast-paced play that the Bulls have been pushing this season. I think it's pretty good for the team, especially because I feel like generally we have a lot of quick scorers. So that transition offense is important, I think, to the Bulls' success. But one thing I don't like at the same time is how bad sometimes the Bulls are at pick and roll defense. It's pretty horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah, I might have to agree with that there. There's still a lot of long place to go for the Bulls. Definitely a good win for them. Like you said, destroyed on the boards, 50-38 in points in the paint. I was pretty happy about that as well. Shout out Patrick Williams. Career night.
Freaking Williams.
23 points. 11 of those boards earlier, by the way, by Wendell Carter. That's pretty dope, too. But yeah, I think if you're a Raptors fan, I wouldn't be feeling too bad about this, though, because like you said, 3 top scorers are gone. And there's not much to be said about that. It's not a year where I would be expecting the Raptors to make the playoffs. With the play-in, maybe they can get a play-in spot, but I like to think that the Bulls are starting to secure their position for that.
I truly hope so. And with Billy Donovan showing his willingness to make changes with that starting lineup decision, a lot of coaches wouldn't do that because Kobe White and Wendell Carter Jr. specifically, like those two are the 2 guys we need to be working on the most this year. Because I feel like Patrick Williams hasn't really shown us like that he's a major problem yet, and there have been a lot of questions about Wendell Carter Jr. and Kobe White. And they both played very well in the minutes they were given. Wendell didn't actually play very much, only 19 minutes, but Kobe White ended up being a closer. He played almost the entire fourth quarter, and he was getting shots off from all over the floor. He got shots in the paint, mid-range, 3 points, and I think that's what you want to see from Kobe White. And
he also got some nice boards.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ESPN right now, and Bulls are playing the Thunder, and they did the same starting lineup. They kept Kobe and Wendell on the bench. So if we're going to stick with that moving forward, I don't necessarily know about that, but if we can stick with it until we get those two to meet expectations, props to Billy Donovan.
Yeah, I think that what I like about Kobe White though is, and I can't really say the same about Wendell. I think Wendell has potential. I just think, like we've talked about it, Jack. I just think he needs to learn how to use his body. He's a strong dude. He's a big dude. I think he just doesn't realize how to use that effectively, and I think that's a problem sometimes. He not on terms of getting rebounds, just in terms of scoring, because he's very good at getting rebounds. Really good. I mean, to get 11 in 19 minutes, that's pretty impressive. But with Kobe White, one thing I have been noticing is that he's been playing really hard. At least, he's always running, always. He's always trying to, I feel like, looking to get a steal, it seems. He's getting rebounds, and he isn't afraid to try to score from anywhere. I think with that drive, I think that's really good. But, if he doesn't turn out to be a starter, that would suck. But maybe he could be a really good sixth man. And, I would be okay with that if we could get someone else to fill that position.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't think you're going to be obviously you're not going to be a championship contesting team with Kobe White being your starter. But like you said, if the franchise continues moving in this direction, he is a pretty good choice for 7th, 8th, or even 6th man off the bench.
Yeah, and the Bulls have had quite a few six-man potential guys the past few years. Like Otto Porter flashed a bit. I know we overpaid him, but he's still good at basketball. Denzel Valentine, Thaddeus Young. So I really like that the Bulls have all these guys that can be realistic threats. We played 10 guys in this game, and 9 of them scored in double digits. That's a really big deal because with regards to Zach LaVine, I said the other week that some people think that LaVine is just outright carrying the Bulls, and I've been adamant that that's not the case. He only scored 15 points in this game, and that's an off night for him, but it means that he doesn't have to carry the team, which is what a lot of people think is happening.
Yeah, I think, I agree with you. I think the Bulls team, if you actually when you watch them play, they all help each other out. But I think it's just the numbers of, the points that a lot of people look at, obviously. And Zach LaVine usually is scoring a lot more than everybody else. But when you actually watch the game, it seems like everybody does kind of have their hand in helping, especially Thaddeus Young. The Bulls, in some senses, sometimes run the offense through him. And it's not a lot, but when they do it, it's very effective. When he always makes the right pass, it seems like, at least. And I think we have a good veteran presence on this team that will help us win. It just sucks that we don't have just one more superstar or something,
Absolutely.
Because with our veteran presence, we do have a solid team. We're just missing, I feel like, one more really good piece, or even one more good piece, and then one more really good piece, and then one more not as good, but right around that area. but if they had a solid superstar, I think you would have a way different expectations of the Bulls.
Yeah, I think you look at Patrick Williams. I truly believe he can be that second star.
I hope so. I think it's possible. He shows flashes here and there. I like that he shot confidently. He made a 3-pointer. He didn't do that great overall in the night. Shot 25%. But, you have to shoot him in order to get good at shooting them. So, at the end of the day, he only missed 5 shots. So, you know what? It's all good. What I would like to see out of Patrick Williams though is like a more diverse I would like to see him score in a more diverse way under the basket, I guess, essentially. I feel like he does score in the same way a lot, but that'll come with time. I think he's still learning, but maybe in 2 years, once he figures some more stuff out, I think he could be dangerous.
Yeah, I think in this Raptors game, he was actually very aggressive scoring in the paint. Like, he had a lot of dunks that were like full grown man dunks, and he's only 19 years old.
I know. Well, we need to see Wendell do.
That's right.
That's what I was thinking, Jack. I was like, Wendell needs to see this guy and be like, I could do that too. That's what needs to happen. But we'll find out. But no, it was awesome. He had this one dunk where I think he just like dunked over someone with two hands.
And he made it look easy.
It was pretty
too.
dope. Oh yeah. So, I'm a big fan of Patrick Williams. I would like to see a little bit more consistency in the scoring, but he is still very young, so I will say that's okay for now.
That's facts. Yeah, I know what's it called. I thought he did great. I like what he's done. Love him more in the mismatch right now than playing guys who are bigger than him, which is going to happen in his position. But yeah, it's never really crossed my mind of him being the second option on the team completely. And I think if he keeps this up, 23 points, career night, did great, then yeah, maybe that is possible in the future.
I would just like to see maybe next season if he averages around 18 points a game, then I'd be like all in, 100% all in. But you know what? I think give him 2 years and he's definitely going to be a way more complete player than he is right now, and I think he's going to be a lot stronger, and I think that's definitely going to help him for the way that he plays basketball.
That's facts. And under Billy Donovan's culture, I think that's very possible. He's great for young player development, at least in my opinion.
Isn't it so nice to be optimistic as a Bulls fan again?
Yes.
Yeah, it is nice. I still wish that they got my MPJ, but it is what it is,
It's been a few years now,
Jack. Some things you don't get over. He's been playing so well recently. Have you been paying attention?
He did turn out to be good.
Yeah, and it just sucks because he wanted to play for the Bulls too, and it's just it's fine. We're done.
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate things. It just happens sometimes,
Yeah, but it happens a lot to Chicago teams, I feel like. It probably happens to everyone, but it was just so, in my eyes, blatantly obvious, It's like, oh, we should do this. It's like, I'm not going to get into it, but there's just so many times where things were so blatantly obvious to do, and then our favorite teams didn't do them, and it just hurts me.
The curse of Chicago sports.
Yeah, it's okay though. All right, you want to get into the Thunder and the Grizzlies game?
Yes. Also from Sunday, Oklahoma City takes this game 128-122 with a pretty classic fourth quarter comeback.
Yeah, right.
I think it
was kind of nuts.
With both of these two teams, they're very similar, not necessarily in terms of play style, but in terms of reputation and perception. They're both sort of young squads. Oklahoma City probably has more future hope at the moment because they're loaded on draft picks. But I think both of these teams this year, their overall goal is to just get the young guys minutes and have everyone, try their best, kind of like the Bulls were last year, and just sort of see what happens. I don't think either of them really have playoff expectations. If they get there, great. If not, then that's fine.
Yeah. What I will say is, I don't really have any ties to these teams, but I will say that guy Pokachev, I might say his name wrong. I'm going to be honest. I think it's Pokashevsky.
I got you, Brennan. That's exactly right. Alexei Pokashevsky.
Yeah. I think that he had a really, really good game for his third start in the NBA. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, he played 39 minutes career highs there, 23 points and 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The double-double.
And he actually, Pokashevsky is the youngest player in the league, younger than Patrick Williams.
Oh.
He did look very young, I will say. But I did like his shooting. What I was really interested in and I thought was really cool was that he kept on finding a way to get open. And maybe it's because people didn't really think much of him. Maybe that's one thing, so they kind of just let him get open. But he shot 5 of 8 from the 3. So he was pretty effective. So maybe next game people might want to... I don't know, actually. Next game's happening right now, Jack. How's he doing? I saw you're looking at it.
I closed it out. The game actually finished, and it looked like Pokashevsky didn't have a great stat line. 4 points against the Bulls, so not that great.
Not that good. But I still think it seems like he likes to shoot from the 3, and if it's wide open, you should probably be there. I think, especially in today's league, you don't just let people shoot the 3. People are... Like almost everyone's good at shooting the 3 now. It's kind of ridiculous, but he had a lot of open shots and he got open and he made a lot of them. So he had a good game. So good for him, I guess.
Yeah, I thought he was great. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, also great, 30 points. I'm a big fan of Shai. I love his playing style. I love the way he gets to the rim. I love that he just genuinely is not afraid to face anybody. He's not afraid to guard anybody. He's not afraid to try to play ISO against anybody. That being said, he still passes the ball at the smart times. Thunder shot 57.5% from the field, 51.6% from the 3, which was great. That being said, though, they turned it over 24 times. So it just shows that, yes, it was a great win for them, great comeback, but you could tell this is a young team.
Yeah, right. Like that's exactly sort of what every young team ends up doing is the young guys look really great, but they turn it over all the time. Hi, Zach LaVine. Hi, Kobe White. But the Thunder are built very similarly to what the Bulls were. They were missing their veteran presence in this game. No Al Horford, no Trevor Ariza, no George Hill. But they have a lot of guys that you can look at and say, hey, maybe this guy can be something in the future. Like you said, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, got Pokashevsky. They were missing Lou Dort and Darius Bazley this game. But all 4 of them. Oh, and Isaiah Roby as well. So
yeah.
They have a lot of really young guys that are flashing talent and a complete overload of draft picks over the next 6 years.
I know.
Shout out the Clippers.
That's nice. That's nice. I'm happy for them. I mean, the one thing I want to say though about Isaiah Roby, I'm glad you brought him up. He had this nice layup going in where he went through contact, and I thought, to steal the game, I thought that was pretty clutch. So I just wanted to take a note on that. It didn't go unnoticed. I thought it was cool. But hey, someone has to seal the deal, and he did it. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander passed him the ball, and he came through. So, good job on that one. It was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this fourth quarter comeback basically came down to who could hit their shots. Because in the fourth quarter, the Thunder shot 12 of 17 from the field, including 7 3-pointers, while the Grizzlies shot 7 of 22 from the field. So they just completely shot shots.
They also had a bad foul where they made a 3-pointer, right? And then became a 4-point play at the end of the game, and then they turned the ball over right there, and it just was bad. It just seemed, like you said, when you're a young team, sometimes things just crumble, and you weren't expecting it, but it did, And I think that comes with age, where probably a little bit less of the carelessness starts to go away as you become a better NBA player, but smarter. But at the end of the day, it's growing pains. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, when it comes to the Grizzlies, it's John Morant and nobody else. Jonas Valanciunas is a rebounding machine. I'll give him that. But I think he's older than most of the rest of the team. So in terms of the Grizzlies' sort of future outlook, John Morant's is franchise cornerstone, but I don't really know what else they have going.
Yeah, I wouldn't really want to play there if I was Morant, to be honest with you. I was thinking about that when I was watching the game. I was like, "Oh, this does not look good." I know it sounds kind of mean, but it is what it is. I mean, he was kind of having to do it by himself, and that's sometimes a recipe for disaster when you're not good enough to overcome that. And I think John Morant is good, but just not, not that good.
Yeah, I think he's lower tier all-star quality, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Too. I think he's about that good, but I'm talking about where, like kind of like a LeBron James Harden
Lead a
level good,
franchise.
where you can change the whole franchise because of how good you are. Like, I just don't think John Morant is there, So unless they get some pieces around him, he might be gone eventually.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, but that's all I got for right now. What about you guys? Guys, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we hit everything.
Yeah. Can I go back to UFC 259 real quick? Fast one. Dominic Cruz, shout out to you. His first time back in the ring since 2016. So it was cool to see him back. I remember I was watching with Brandon. I was like, whoa, Dominic Cruz, the commentator now? And I was like, wait, is this for him for real? But last time he fought, he lost to Cody Garbrandt when he was dominant. So it's good to see him get a win. I don't want to see him back in the ring much more because he's got a family and a good job. And I think he'll take some L's if he stays in that division. But that's all I got to say.
Big fan.
Big fan.
Wouldn't it be cool if we met some of these guys one day? I'd be down for that.
That would be dope.
Well, hopefully we do. But I think that'll be it for today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Until next time, I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm here with
Jack Cowart
And Emilio Escalante.
All right, see ya.